Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website JFA49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. And as always, we have the usual suspects who are coming in with the hashtag JD49. It is a Friday. Football is back, baby. That is my Frank Costanza. I'm back, baby. So very excited. It is a Friday. We are hype. Lots of stuff to get into. So let's dive in, Johnny. What was something that grabbed your attention regarding training camp? What was the first thing that jumped out to you? Let's get into it.
I mean, it's been kind of a whirlwind the last couple days. We're just 2 practices in, and we've got a lot of player interviews that have been going on. What's up, Shifty? Good to see you in the chat. Go check out Shifty's channel. There's been a lot of player interviews going on, coaching interviews that are going on. Tim Kawakami had his annual sit down with Kyle Shanahan. Lots of nuggets from that. Great interview by Tim K. And so, I mean, the first thing that stands out, unfortunately, is the last thing I put in the notes, which is Jacob Cowing pulled a hamstring running against air on the first day of practice. And I hate to be right sometimes. Didn't I say like last?
No, you don't.
Last channel,
you guys.
Yes, in this sense, I honestly do. I think, didn't I say it last episode? I said there's only a few things certain in life: death, taxes, and a 49ers wide receiver pulling a hammy on the first day of training camp. Like,
oh!
Like, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like our skill position players pull hamstrings way too often. Maybe I'm just, it's because I only follow the 49ers mostly, and I don't see these injuries as much like on other teams, but it just feels like it's at too high of a rate. I don't know. Something about the hamstrings and the 49ers, whether it's a facility, I don't know. Something is not right, because Ricky Pearsall still has not come off the pup. He's probably not coming off until Monday because of his hamstring, and it turned out it was a bad hamstring. The one that originally we thought he was just being held out for precaution at the end of OTAs, and then it turned out to be a really bad hamstring, and it's still kind of working his way back. This immediately just makes me think, okay, why was it misdiagnosed? I mean, look, I understand nothing's perfect here, but the 49ers have been a top 5 most injured team in every year but one during Kyle Shanahan's tenure. And even really back to the Chip Kelly era and the Harbaugh era, they were a top 5 most injured team. There's only been 2 years that the 49ers were not top 5 in injuries from Harbaugh all the way through now. And that was 2012 when we went to the Super Bowl, and 2023 when we went to the Super Bowl. So, like, having these kind of issues doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me going forward. And that's the thing that just jumps out immediately, is like, you are like 30 minutes into training camp and a receiver already pulls a hamstring. Somebody who's been training for 5 months, right, and they didn't pull a hamstring for 5 months, and they show up first day of training camp and pull a, like, what is wrong with your warm-up process? It's like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
just seems a bit off.
Yeah, and for that kind of receiver that we have like some excitement for, just like man, it's just a little frustrating. I want to ask you something. We have definitely a lot to go over. We talked before the show, but here I want to bring up something and get your take on it real quick because I think everyone in the chat can relate to this because we see it year after year. And there's talk about, Aaron Rodgers threw a pick, his first pass in training camp, and Shadur Sanders was 7 for 7. Brock Purdy, an unbelievable play to Kittle, was 13 for 14 or whatever. And I want to just set the record straight and see what you think. Is it truly a nothing burger? Is it a something burger? Is it medium? When a quarterback does well in these circumstances in training camp, is it you just hope that he does over 50% and you're looking for some positive things, or is going something like 13 for 14 a big deal? What's your take on all this?
I think it's a nothing burger. I mean, look, the all those kind of reps are for a coaching staff to evaluate players. And evaluate where people at and for people to work on specific things that coaches want them to do. Um, so I mean, so I have a break or a copy of one of Nick Saban's spring installs. So it'd be kind of like training camp. It was their late spring installs where they go through a lot of their camp time, and so like seeing how they notate everything, how they planned out the practices. It's like 450 pages long, and it includes schedules for every day and notes to the coaching staff of what they want to work on each day. So what they do during this time is not simply like, we're going to go out there, we have these plays, and we're going to simulate a game here. That's not what they do. You practice certain things over and over again to get certain things really really down, and then the coaches and the players go back and they watch the tape of it, and then the coaches evaluate everything. They're going to give players grades and they're going to give them scores because they want to see they're grading and scoring how people are reacting to what are we asking them to do. It's one thing if a corner bails off of his man and reads a play that he's seen the offense run 6 times and run across the field and gets an interception. Well, you didn't do what we asked you to do on your side of the field. So, they're not going to give him a positive grade there. And they grade everybody on this, and that's how depth charts are established, is that they have specific grades on each play. Everything's recorded, everything's of what defense they called, exactly what it was, what adjustments they were trying to work on. So when I see these different things, I'm like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. They may be asking Brock, make this throw no matter what, because we want to see how this receiver is going to react to running over the middle and having to make a catch in traffic. We want to see that. Does he run scared? Like, where is it? Oh, is he a little bit off on his timing there? Does he need to be a couple yards closer to you? Like, are we working on our distribution here? That's what the things that they're going to look at. So when I see these numbers, I really don't think like anything of it. They could be asking Brock to work on some checkdowns for an entire period. And so Brock's going to look like he's 8 for 8. They may be asking him to make the reads and to do everything through the way it's going to be, and it may be a really good sign that he's there. They may be saying, we want to try and test our corner out here, so we're going to put certain receivers out there, and we're going to throw the deep one every time. And so Brock's going to look like he's 7 of 14 with 2 interceptions. They want to see their safeties. They want to see their corners. Like, there's a plan in place from both sides of it. Saleh and Shanahan are going to get together on this. They're going to plan out, okay, this period I want to see this. This period we're going to work on that. Offensive line, sometimes it's, hey, we're gonna work against bull rushes every single time. So the defensive line, you're just running bull rushes. We're gonna work on speed rushes. They're not working their stunts in their games and their different hand fighting. They're not doing that. That's what the individual drills are for. People think all these individual drills are just like warm-ups and everything. Like, people will see the different warm-ups and drills, and they're just kind of like, okay, yeah, guys, they do this, they did. No, that is the moment for them to work on their skills. Like, that is skills development. It's not just we're going out there and running around a little bit and jogging and getting warmed up for the team period when everything really happens. No, you work on your skills during those drills, the drill periods. And then you work on specific things as a team during the team periods. So a lot of this stuff about training camp stats and all that, I do not give one iota about it.
So you talked about some of the DBs. Let's get into the safeties. Talking competition maybe with the safeties. What's your take there?
Well, I mean, Robert Saleh almost surprisingly said, "Look, both safety spots are an open competition right now."
Yeah.
Which to me was surprising. I thought it was going to be coming in that Jair Brown's spot would be up for competition and that Malik Mustafa's spot was going to be pretty much secured off of his. But I don't think they want him to be complacent. But at the same point, he's not practicing, so that was a little bit surprising. Maybe they're meaning that Mustafa won't be ready week 1, and so they need to figure out who are going to be their starting safeties week 1. I don't know.
That was my first thought. That was my first thought is what that meant. But
I mean, which would not be positive because everything we'd gleaned from Mustafa was that he was going to be ready week 1, no doubt. And so I'm like, okay, either this means that they're not wanting to just hand the job to Mustafa, or 2, he's not going to be ready week 1. Either way, with him not being there at training camp, man, that doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence in that position, in that spot going forward. But that was a little bit surprising to me.
what was something that did give you confidence, like that you were like, oh man, yes, that just made you like pump your fist a little bit? I know it's early, so we're not like hallelujah pumping our fist, but like something that
Yeah.
just made you give you the feel the goods in your loins.
Well, I mean, like Nick Bosa was talking about how Robert Sala's presence, it had a very commanding presence in the
Yeah.
meeting rooms. Um, that tells you, and he paused and really thought about what he was about to say. And it just tells you, like, and Shanahan talked about this in his podcast with Tim K, that he was trying to, be very courteous and not disparage anybody, Nick Sorensen, who'd been here. And he's just straight up said, he's like, look, this wasn't all on Nick. And it wasn't that I think Nick won't be very successful. He goes, I think he's a great coach. I think he's going to be very successful going forward. But it was like, he kind of was saying it that he had to watch the defensive installs and see how things were going and be on Nick Sorensen about how he was running the meetings and kind of how he's communicating with the players and what was being communicated and things like that. And you go, and that kind of made a light bulb go off. It was like, oh, that's why Shanahan looks so tired, because he was having to take 2 hours that would have been for prep, as far as his film watching, and watch the defensive meetings because they're all taped. And so he would have to watch the game plan installs each day, to the tapes of it, because he's got to go work on his side of it with the offensive side. And he's watching that and then having to meet with Nick real quick about it and what they need to do and do differently going forward. And he's doing this every day. And then he's got to go later and catch up on his film work that he didn't get time to watch through. So seeing that, just kind of reminds you of, like, there's a presence there that won't have to be babysat as much. And I don't mean that as pejorative as it sounds, but like, and Shanahan talked about this, that he had to do that with Robert Saleh his first 2 years, that he was on him about a ton of stuff constantly. He goes, I probably fired Robert like 20 times for an hour each time
Yeah.
in his first 2 years, like, just because of things. And so he's like, we can joke and laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny back then. And so, like, these were growing pains that Saleh had that Nick Sorensen just didn't have the luxury to have. He's on a team with high expectations. And so those growing pains aren't, it's rough. And sometimes guys get promoted into a spot that the expectations just they cannot meet. And so, he had some interesting comments about Steve Wilkes there and trying to learn the 49ers system, and how difficult that was for him. And he just said, I think I expected too much. I expected him to pretty much do what my dad did when he came to the 49ers, which was lock himself in a Marriott for 2 months with all the VHS tapes of Bill Walsh's and Mike Holmgren's installs and learn the entire offense in a masterclass way, and then be able to regurgitate it out. He's like, Steve he had been doing his defense for so long. It was really hard that he would call a certain coverage thinking I'm going to get these areas, these specific spots covered really well, or what this would exactly mean. And it would just mean something a little bit different with the way that their system had been. So there was a little bit of a disconnect there. And they made it work for the most part up until, the last 20 minutes of a Super Bowl. But that was, so all of that going, okay, there's somebody in here who understands the insides and outs of this system. This is akin to the 49ers after, say after everything and Mike Shanahan left, of bringing Mike Holmgren back in. You would have somebody there who understands everything, the ins and outs perfectly. And absolutely the way that they do it. And it's just bringing that beautiful mind, that beautiful bald head back in, and getting him in there. It's a commanding presence. I think that's what all of that gets wrapped up in.
Bald is beautiful. You are welcome for that. I want to get into a little bit more of the interview first, with Tim K, but I want to first remind everyone the previous about like 10 minutes or so where Johnny was talking about, he has Saban's install and going through the nothing burger that training camp is. And that is some of the whys and hows that we get into. So as we get into the season, most of you know, we may have some new people. I noticed NY Niners. Looks like we have a Niner fan in New York.
New York.
That I have not seen. So if you are new to the channel, this is what you need to know. Breakdowns like this is, you talk about nothing burger, this is a nothing burger in the realm of a Johnny Dell, because you ain't seen nothing yet. If you like the take that he had about training camp and what that looks like and some of the ins and outs and the hows and the whys and that sort of thing, then you have to take your phone, show it to other Niner fans and say, hey, this channel's legit because this guy really knows his stuff. And in season, it gets super crazy. This is like there's 2 seasons, the not football season and football season. We're in the not football season right now, but when it gets rolling, Johnny really gets rolling. And most of you, as we do have a lot of the, like I said, usual suspects in the chat, they know that if you know, kind of one of those deals, you definitely know. So be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you have not. We're glad that Mike B did, because even on vacation, he is catching us now. Also want to give a quick reminder, season 2 of Sports Idiot Nation starts in August, where we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Johnny, I don't know if you heard this. I'm wearing my a black t-shirt because Miles Harrington, one of my best friends in the whole world, we're in a group chat with Johnny. He helps me host Sports Idiot Nation along with Titans Idiot. His dad passed away yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And just very, very sad, because this guy worked in the NFL. Actually, he worked with the Bengals back in the day. He did some stuff, and great guy. Miles is one of those friends that I'm so close with him that I'm also close with with his family, and vice versa. He knows my family very well. And this guy was a great guy, had cancer, and then within 2 months got pneumonia as well. And so he went from being overly pretty healthy, and then in 2 months was gone and died yesterday, along with Hulk Hogan on Barry Bonds' birthday. Wild day yesterday for me. So want to give a shout out to Jeff Harrington, man, and Miles. He likes to catch the show, so I will be with him the rest of this weekend. The funeral's next week, but just wanted to give a shout out from Sports Idiot Nation. All right, so let's get back in, Johnny, to this interview. What I also, um, Nick Bosa, as we see, yes, Mike B looked like a tiny person.
I
Was
mean,
kind of nice, dude.
that isn't Alfred Collins he's standing next to. That is Micah Williams. Like, just to put in perspective of how big Micah Williams is, this is
Yeah.
a big kid. Nick Bosa is no small man, and he looks normal size next to Micah Williams. Like that's a big young man. I mean, look at the absolute tiny person that they make the media guy look like, who's in the middle. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
any of us would look like.
Yeah.
He literally looks like a 10-year-old kid standing among those giants of men, and he's probably like 5'10", 5'10", 5'9", something like that, or probably around my height. Yeah, I mean, they brought some size there. I know everybody was looking forward to the Alfred Collins video. I said on Monday I was going to publish it, and this is why I appreciate the direct support from the members of JFA49.com and the members of the Patreon, because I ran into some issues and I can't quite I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about, what I'm not allowed to talk about. So I'll just talk about it all. I don't care at this point. So I got a copyright strike from a YouTube channel called XOS Digital Sports. I went to their YouTube channel. You can find them. They are a channel of 4.7 thousand subscribers. They are literally about a sixth the size of this channel. How they had it, as they had the clips that I was using from the Colorado State game, from the Georgia game, from the Texas game, or not Texas because he's on Texas. I think it was Clemson, and I had a bunch of different clips on there, but I got a flag for the coach's film as 3 unlisted videos, because I searched the actual names of the videos that it flagged as conflicting with that they own the copyright to, and I could not find them on the actual search on YouTube. That means they have posted them as unlisted videos, and their links go to a company called Catapult Sports, which just says that they're the leader in sports analysis in whatever. So how they have the coach's film and have claimed copyright on for posting these as unlisted videos, I went through the dispute process. So it flagged it as a copyright infringement. So I filed a dispute, which means all that means is that I could post the video, but the whatever ads were going to be on it were going to go to them. And I didn't feel like that was fair to me. 2, I didn't feel like it was fair to everybody else to be, you don't come to support another channel. And so, so I posted I filed the dispute through YouTube, which means I send a reasoning to the owner. I said, this is why I think I can use this. And within 12 hours, it was rejected. So then I can file an appeal through YouTube. Now, the appeal is a little more risky, because the appeal basically says at the end of it, if you do not agree with each other, you have to be ready to file lawsuits against each other, and decide this in court. And we are going to side with the original copyright holder, as YouTube is, when in doubt. So if you guys want to figure it out after that, that's fine. Let us know what the result is if it's something different. So going through the appeal process, they have 7 days to respond. And what their appeal, once you do that, it's either like they have to either allow my video or they have to give me a takedown notice. And what came out, and so then I reached out to the company directly. I found their X account and I messaged them directly, explaining exactly what was going on, and how it was different. And so then what I got back, within an hour after sending them the message, was a takedown notice, meaning that if I did not take that video down and delete it forever off of my YouTube, even as an unlisted video, within 7 days, they were going to issue a copyright strike against my channel. And at 3 strikes, my channel is deleted permanently and I cannot get it back. And everything that we've built here would be gone. So at this point, the only way I could actually publish that video is if I was to try and file a lawsuit against them, and try and win a fair use. I don't even know if it would be a fair use lawsuit, because I don't think they actually own the original copyright. I think this is some company, some entity that has got this film somehow and has posted the raw footage and is trying to snag whatever college tape people or work people are publishing and abuse the YouTube guidelines. But YouTube is very hands off on this. They just say, look, that's not our realm. We're not lawyers. We're not going to do that, which I get that side, but that is what's going on with that. I have posted the Alfred Collins video to my X account, and because I can publish it there and there's not going to be the interference. I have posted it on the members website. That's the best I can do. I can't post it here on YouTube because of these issues. So that's that. And then also, again, just saying these are some of the issues that we've been starting to run into over the last couple of years, and it's getting a little murky as far as I understand. What I do is considered fair use, but there's a process that goes through with that sometimes to be able to publish videos. So, your direct support is really like that's what's supporting the channel, and that's what's keeping videos like that going. It's not from ad revenue on all that stuff. I know it's sometimes you see videos and there's ads on it and you think all that's coming to this channel, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes I have published videos and I have to go through a 7-day process before that can even be added, and 95% of the views have gone. So anyways, in Calatora, that's what I've done that with some videos. Like you see some of them, they're resized and I put logos on them. I'm trying to do that just to get around the checks, just so I can publish them. And people don't have to go support something that they never intended to. Anyways, that's a long story on that, but that's why the Alfred Collins video did not get published here. I'm working on Nick Martin and Upton Stout video. Hopefully, I can just push it out. I think at this point, if it runs into an issue with that company, and I'm just going to publish it, they're going to get the ad revenue. But you guys and the members who have supported everything deserve to get that content. So I'm going to try and get that out. It's just a lot of work for when that kind of stuff happens. But anyways, moving forward from that, back to some more training camp news. I really enjoyed the Tim K, Kyle Shanahan interview. If you haven't checked it out, go listen to it on the TK show. He does this every year, right as training camp starting. We'll have a sit down with Kyle Shanahan for about 45 minutes. And what I appreciate about it is that it's a moment where Shanahan can get into the weeds a little bit more and get into things more than the 60-second answers to some questions that happen, or a minute and a half answers in a room, because you're trying to get to 12 different questions in 8 minutes, sort of a thing, that you can go through things. And what struck me is that he talked at length about the difficulties personally he had this offseason of going through everything. Thank you, coming in with the super chat, Lisa. Big thank you. We appreciate you, Lisa.
Very cool. Thanks, Lisa. Good morning.
Thank you. And so, anyways, I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, I was just about to call you out. I was just about to say, Johnny is literally
the train of thought has been derailed. But he talked about how personally it was a very difficult offseason, saying goodbye to all of the longtime players that they'd had. Now, I did disagree with some of the things he said, because he talked about how they built the team and they were able to do things right. And he's like, through 17 and 18, we built this roster. When you look at their 7th and through the draft, I was like, sort of. When I remember we did this last year, we went back through the 17 and 18 drafts. I think the perception was because they were so successful in 2019, they all had all of these homegrown players. Most of them were from 2019. Like outside of 2017 and 18, the only real starters they had from those drafts was Fred Warner and George Kittle. Like that was it. And now those were two amazing starters.
I was gonna say, come on, that's pretty big.
It is. But when you're talking about filling out 22 spots, they got 2 guys. The other 20 were either a few holdovers or guys they went out and got in free agency that they had acquired in different ways. Like Richard Sherman, he was not a homegrown player. And so that's how they built the team. And I was like, well, you didn't do that in 78. He was like, we got to do that again. And he just talked about that, knowing Brock's contract was coming, they had to restructure a lot of the stuff that they had been pushing things down the road. And so the bill was going to come due, and they had to reconfigure their cap, which is really looking at 26 and 27. Like that's what they were looking at is not necessarily how do they reconfigure the cap in 2025, but in 2026 and 2027, they had to lose a large amount of cap space in those years. And so, and how difficult that was, but then also the process of going through with Brock and how he's like, before he left, I told him like, we are committed to you. Like, no, everybody in this building is committed to you. A negotiation becomes a negotiation. It's exactly that. And, there's things that can go on in there that may feel personal, but it's a negotiation, and everybody in this building believes in you. We think you're going to be a great quarterback. You are a great quarterback, and we are committed. Like it was like he wanted him to know that going in because of some of the drama that has happened in the past. Be like, we believe you are a phenomenal player. There's things we have to do on the business side to make sure that we can have a phenomenal team, but we love you. We think you're great, So, and that I think that relationship there really helped that contract come to terms, and him not pushing for being the highest paid player and all that stuff.
Now, because of that too, he also talked about what that meant when he knew, there was a lot of talk on like sports talk around the country. Like, is Brock the guy? When the whole time now it's official that we can say he knew the whole time that Brock was the guy. Now, having said that, it also made the offseason really, really, really tough because he knew, like, he had to be dreading knowing that, okay, Brock's the guy. Brock's going to get all this, which means that takes away from this over here. And this over here is Dre. It's Huff. It's a myriad of, and what that does to a guy. And it's like the before and after pick of all presidents before they get sworn in and after and 4 years later. And you look at Kyle Shanahan, and it's a bit depressing, man. Like he looks weathered.
Yeah, well, look, I think you may be referring to that. There was a viral picture that had, Sean McVay, and he looked like he'd only aged about 6 months, and Kyle Shanahan, the different pictures looked like he aged 40 years. Look, they were using the Rams' team photos, and then they used Kyle's team photo, and then like a horrible lighting moment after a game on another one.
Just saying.
Well, no. But look, I went and posted Kyle Shanahan's team photo after quote posted that one. And look, he looks like he's aged maybe like a year or two when you look at the team photos. I mean, because they do the makeup, they do the lighting, they got. I mean, it looks so when people are trying. So whatever on that one. Actually, Kyle Shanahan to me looks a lot more refreshed than he's looked in a while. You could see that he was stressed during the time of like who's going to be here because between the time they let all those guys walk out the building until the draft came around, but he looks a lot more refreshed and I think the only question they have right now is who's going to be that left guard. And that was something we talked about a lot of the stuff with the offensive line yesterday. I did on the show with stats. I went over a bunch of film and was showing like there's a lot of moments where people will put things on an offensive line that's not on an offensive line. That they'll you see a broadcast and it's like this run goes for -1 yards. Everybody looks at your offensive line isn't moving people, and it turns out, well, it's your tight end number 2 and tight end number 3 that are playing patty cake on the edge and aren't able to block anybody. Sometimes it's a good check by the defensive coordinator, and Ayuk isn't able to get a block on a corner, and a play that should go for 20 yards goes for -2. But everybody says the offensive line isn't moving people. So something's going on with the live show. People are saying that there's something going on with everything happening.
Ads coming in and stuff.
I guess I do apologize for that. I don't know what's going on with that. Can't control YouTube side. I do. It sucks. Anyways, we talked about that. Talked about sometimes it was running backs not getting the right holes, and Aaron Banks struggling last year, and that Aaron Banks. Chris Verster talked about this at the end of the year. He was struggling with his weight. He wasn't able to move like he was. He'd been injured. And that's why he was struggling with his weight. That he was just rehabbing and trying to let injuries heal, and so he couldn't move like he was. And I was showing the plays of where that affected things. And it was like, this play should be an explosive, and it's not there. Aaron Banks is just a step slow. He's not able to block this out. And then in the perspective of everything, in the perspective that Aaron Banks just got signed for $19.25 million a year. He got a 4-year, 77.75 contract. I think it was 75 contract, something like that. $1 million contract. The kid is almost getting paid $20 million a year. And he was probably one of our bottom 2 or 3 offensive linemen last year. And he's making almost $20 million. I showed play like Jalen Moore just not picking up a slot blitz on it was a sim pressure. It was only a 4-man rush, and they're getting a free rusher, Brock Purdy. Jalen Moore is locked in. He's not looking over because he is not sure if Aaron Banks is going to pick up the guy that was over him. This is again because of injuries and guys in and out of the lineup. They're not on it. And Jalen Moore just got paid $15 million a year to go be a tackle to protect Patrick Mahomes. And like when you're reminded of that stuff, you go, the 49ers offensive line is not as bad as we like to think about sometimes. And I'm guilty of that too. I'll get emotional about it, and I'll harp on Jake Brendel for a while. But it is a reminder, like Shanahan isn't just blowing smoke in those moments. Like you have some of your guys that aren't as top quality on your offensive line that they leave and they get paid really big money by other teams. And you go, okay, so that means that Chiefs offensive line is no better than a Jalen Moore offensive line. And the Packers, they now have Aaron Banks, and we've seen what Aaron Banks did with us. Like they're not, it wasn't like they just leapfrogged the 49ers because they have Aaron Banks now. But I want to get Ben Barch back in there. Apparently Nick Zakelj has been taking a lot of reps there. I wasn't super impressed with Nick Zakelj last year in preseason, so we'll see what his development's been like. Right. Everybody knows how I feel about Ben Barch, that I'm really excited about him. Brad Graham has been saying he's really, really intrigued by Hennessy, a guy that they brought in this last offseason. So we'll see where that goes. Then they got a couple of rookies, Drew Moss and Connor Colby, which could be really, really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. This is the time to be excited. I was just talking to another Niner fan. He messaged me. Most of you know I have a party bus company, and he's getting married in October. And we're talking about, of course, going to the Colts game that's in Indianapolis. And he was just saying, man, I'm so optimistic. And this is the time where going into this offseason, even Baloney Jones with a non-baloney take, saying it's a lot different from last offseason. Like this offseason just feels, you've said it 5 or 6 times on different episodes over the last 2 months, Johnny, that you are just excited as well, that this offseason seems different. You pair that with literally, this is not hyperbole or opinion, it is fact that we have the easiest schedule in the entire league. That should help us. I do wonder, I've been thinking about this, how many times we should have a little ding ding, like a little ticker that says how many times Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, ESPN, how many times they bring up the fact that, well, yeah, but the Niners have the easiest schedule. Like, okay, we know the fans didn't sit down and like write a letter. It's not like, what do you want us to do? We can play the teams that the NFL puts in front of us. I just wonder what that narrative is going to be like. We're like a kind of no catch 22. If we do poorly, now we really suck. And if we do well, it's like, yeah, but they have the easiest schedule. I don't know.
I mean, look, you can only play who's in front of you.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
You can't choose those things. And look, that's going to be a narrative throughout the year. Well, who have they played? Who have they played? They played NFL teams. I mean, look, at this point, you're playing NFL teams. Nobody's in a guaranteed win. Nobody's an easy win. Like, this is not an easy sport to play, and it's not an easy league. So even the teams that are going to be drafting first overall are not easy. This is going to be a slugfest. So you can only play who's in front of you. But that's just going to be the nature of it. And you can only play who's in front of you.
Yeah, we know the deal. You still got to play the games, and we're excited. There's one other thing, Johnny, that I wanted to ask you about because all things training camp and just some fun things. And I can't remember. Did we talk about Mikel's length and going
We
with
haven't. We haven't talked about that,
Trent
and then
Williams?
Shanahan getting into the audibles with Brock Purdy either. But as far as Micah Williams, there was some the best interview, and go check it out. It's on the 49ers YouTube page. You can see the whole interview. It was a short interaction there with actually Trent Williams. They asked him about Micah Williams, so the Williams on Williams, and he just basically said trying to block a guy with that kind of length, it just sucks. I mean, it is
You love
like
to
it
hear that.
sucks.
I just love
Yeah,
it.
because he's like, I mean, the guy has like arms as long as my leg. Like it's hard to block that kind of guy, and it just sucks, man. But like the way he put that, I was like, okay,
The
yeah. I
best
mean, and
tackle
he
in
does.
football
Like
is
he
saying
really,
that.
really does. Like if you look at this picture again of Micah Williams, his arm is almost the length of his leg. Like he is, it's not even hyperbole. Dude
Yeah,
has some long
technically.
arms. His arms are coming down to the same spot as Nick Bosa's, and they're starting higher.
Yeah, yeah.
Like these guys are long, Micah Williams, and that creates issues for tackles. And he just talked about how that was it makes it really hard. He's like, now again, the pads haven't come on, so there's only so much there. But he talked about that they went to Cabo together, that Michael said he was going to be heading down there, and he asked if he could use Trent's plane, and Trent was like, yeah. So I mean, told him I was going to be down there about the same time, so he came over to the house, and so apparently Trent Williams has a place in Cabo. I mean, when you're paid like $180 million, I guess that's what you get. But that they've been hanging out and trying to form a relationship, and who better to mentor? Like you talk about Nick Bosa mentoring Micah Williams. Well, Nick Bosa can't do some of the things that Michael can do just from the arm length perspective. Nick Bosa is going to be able to do things that just Micah Williams can't do. But a guy like Trent Williams, who might be the best left tackle in football and maybe ever, being able to tell you, if you do this, I can't stop you, so nobody will.
Yeah,
Like
that's what you love, man.
or like this is I can stop you if you do this. Most of these guys can't. So you can do that. I might be able to stop you on this one, but most people aren't. Or if you do this, I have to do this to stop you, and then that means you can do this. Like that's the kind of stuff that I love that is happening there and teaching the young kids. So he also compared his build to DeForest Buckner. He said, the way his length and his height, like he's kind of like DeForest Buckner. He's not as thick as DeForest Buckner was. Buck was about 20 pounds on the heavier side than Micah Williams. But just that comparison, but he said Michael is a little more versatile. He can play inside and outside, both really effectively, and brings more speed. So really, really fascinating, fun stuff to hear from Trent Williams.
Oh yeah, no, big time. Again, guys, be sure to hit the notification bell if you have not, and show the channel to Niner fans walking around. Just throw your phone at them, be like, hey, look at this channel. Let's shift to Brock Purdy, what we were talking about with some of the audibles and what that looks like.
So, they asked him again about quarterbacks making protection adjustments and maybe audibling at the line of scrimmage. And again, it comes down to like there's just a not a full understanding of the 49ers system, and people will just in comparison to other systems, and Shanahan talked about that. He's like, look, and I've had moments where I've allowed different guys, like he talked about Kirk Cousins, that they had things like this where he go, well, you don't have to change the play. We have an answer in there. And Kirk Cousins thought was like for one example, they had a play that if it was 3rd and 8 and they were expecting this look, but they didn't get it, their answer was going to be a slant to the backside. He's like, but that slant's only going to be a 6-yard slant. So the guy has to catch it and make 2 more yards after he catches that. So he didn't like that answer. He's like, I don't really like that because if they come with this look, then they just got to beat that 6-yard route when we need 8 yards. And so he's like, can I if I go talk with the team and be able to, understand, like, I'll be ready for this look. If they bring it, then I can change the play to that. Because he also talked about that when he got to Atlanta. Matt Ryan used to run the team meeting the night before the game. That it wasn't the coaches, it was Matt Ryan, and he would prep everybody on, this is what I if I see this, I'm going to change this play. If I see this, I'm going to change that play. Like, he would go through his anticipated audibles with the team the night before the game. The coaches wouldn't do anything. Well, Shanahan got there and he was like, let's take some of that load off your plate, because you're not playing as fast as I think you can. And so let's take some of that load off, because that's what our job as coaches is to do. Is we're supposed to have all that prep done. That's not your job. Is to go play football and play it at a really high level and do what you need to do and be able to streamline your thought process. I want you to play fast, because when you play fast, you play really well and you play dangerous. He's like, so what our job as assistant coaches is to do everything on our end to make sure that you have every answer and every tool you need. You don't have to try and come up with these things. And so he, that was a little bit of working out with Matt Ryan, but he said Matt Ryan appreciated that by their second year. He was like, he was playing faster than he ever had and had his best season. And that's why that happened, because he took all that load off during the week. He said Kirk Cousins was there, and he said, well, you want to do that? Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, if you feel comfortable with it. And after the game, Kirk Cousins came to him and he was like, he goes, they saw the look 3 times, and 2 of them he got wrong. 1 of them he got right. And he's like, Kirk came to me after the game and said, I don't want to ever do that again, because he goes, it was messing with me all game. I was just like, because I'd studied for this certain look every time, and this was going to be the answer. I was looking for it every play. And so it slowed me down, and I couldn't process everything the way that I normally could. And he didn't want to do that. And so he's left that up with his quarterbacks. But at the same point, he said, I'm not just going to be a robot. Like he's trying to take that load off. And he says, that's our job as coaches, not in the sense of like territorial, but like, that's what we're paid to do. We're paid to take that load off of you. We're paid to do a job, and we need to be doing our job so that you don't have to. Like, that becomes a different thing for you. And so, like, that's a big part of it. The other part is, like, when we look at the playbook, that there's answers built in for a lot of this stuff. So you have plays here where you have adjustment routes, where one's going to be a comeback, one's going to be a deep fade, and it's going to be a fade versus a cloud or cover 2, and it's going to be a deep comeback versus everything else. You have a through route, which has one attack versus a singles. This is going to be a cover 2 release. This is going to be a cover 3 or cover 1 release that comes down the middle. That's where it's going to be. You have then a pick curl where this happens. This is an answer against man. So you have a rub action. That's what this is. That's interference to try and pick on the outside guy's route that's coming in there. And then you also have a choice route on this side where it can go based upon coverage at 4 different spots. These are all down to the individual players and what they do. And there's a lot of different answers for what you have. So when we're talking about, okay, well, what are they going to do here for different plays? You have a potential cover 2 beater out here, where you're going to be able to run a corner off and hit this on the outside. I don't know why this won't erase for me. There it goes. So I can clean this up. So you have a cover 2 beater on one side. You have a cover 3 beater over here where you're going to look to try and grab the will. And then you get your Z coming across on a high-low stretch on your will. And the Mike would have to try and run with who that wide receiver is. That's not a good win there. So you got a cover 3 beater out here. You got a potential cover 4 beater with this choice and these coming across, because you're going to end up putting a Mike, if he's got a shade towards the 3 receiver side, that you have a cover. The Mike's going to have to shade this way. So you're putting a hook in a cover 4 one-on-one with Christian McCaffrey out here, who's going to be on a choice route. And so you have a cover 4 beater over there. You have a man coverage beater over here. And then if you have like cover 3 and they've bailed here and they end up can pick this up and they end up picking that up, now you can work to this comeback on the other side. So like you have ways to beat every coverage within this play. Like there's a lot of different options there. And what he's saying is we have answers built in for all of these things. We don't need to necessarily change the play. and there's adjustments to these routes that come in the old West Coast. It wasn't like that. And he talked about Peyton Manning. He's like, Peyton Manning would be back then, everybody see him directing stuff and changing plays and doing all this. He's like, but Peyton Manning only played in one formation his entire career. And so, yeah, you can do a lot of that, and what to direct in there, because you only deal with one formation. So, like, you don't have to sit here and think through, I can't run this play because of this formation. There's certain plays you can't run out of some formations. And so, like, passing concepts. So it's like, well, we can't run that because we're in this formation. Well, he didn't have to deal with that. And there's pros to that, obviously with Peyton Manning and what he was able to do. The negative side is, if you're a team that wants to run the ball, you're very limited in how you can manipulate the defense and manipulate the run lanes. You just are. That's one of the reasons why the Colts were never a strong running team, because it wasn't just because they had Peyton Manning and they wanted to pass everything. It was because they were very limited in their formations. So there was only so many different running plays you could actually run. You couldn't come with 30 different run plays. And Shanahan is all about, like, I'm going to hit you I'm going to hit that defense with volume. We're going to hit you with all these different run plays, and we're going to create a crease, and our running back's going to be gone. And we're going to try and make this easier for our whole team. Like, that's how they go about it. So it's a different approach and different philosophy, but this idea that means, because he laughed. He goes, even players will say this to me, like, oh, Brock got the contract, you're going to finally give him the keys to the offense. He's like, that's not how this works. Yeah. Like, that's not how this offense works. Like, it's not like we're sitting here holding certain things in a box and saying, Brock, no, when you get to a certain point, when you get that big contract, we'll open up the special box and you'll be able to access this hidden portion of the offense. Like, no, like, all this stuff is built in. And so that's how it works. And people, there's sometimes I think either a misconception or not fully understanding exactly how Shanahan runs his offense, of why that's the case.
Yeah. And, it's been noted that Brock Purdy from day one kind of just got it, like that it factor of understanding, and he played a lot in college, and there's something to be said about that. Like, it wasn't just his first or second year coming out of Iowa State, and just he got it, and you could sense it. And we see it when you do your videos and you point out that some of these throws are on time, and what that means, that he's throwing it to a spot before the receiver knows it's coming. That's all Shanahan. That's all, that's how the 49ers offense is set up.
Well, it's both of them, right? It's Brock being able to operate Shanahan's system at a really high level. Really highest level that we've seen. And
right.
I think maybe outside of Matt Ryan, but where I always have a caveat with Matt Ryan's MVP years, I say Matt Ryan also had prime career Julio Jones. Like, we always have to have that caveat in there, because Julio Jones in 2016 was one of the greatest seasons that any wide receiver ever has had. I mean, so there's always going to be a little bit of a caveat there of, like, when you try and compare Brock and Matt Ryan's seasons together, I go, we've got some really, really good wide receivers. We haven't had that kind of player like that Julio Jones. So, like, that's always going to be a caveat for me. That's not taking anything away from Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan had a phenomenal 2016 season, but we always have to put that caveat in there, just like everybody does with Joe and Steve, and say, he was also throwing to Jerry Rice a lot. Yeah, they both still had to operate the offense and do it at an extremely high level. But it does help when you got a Jerry Rice out there. It does help when you have a Megatron out there. It does help when you have a Julio Jones out there. Like, these are game-changing receivers. It helps when you have a Randy Moss out there. Like, those are different. And so, I love Brandon Ayuk. He hasn't been a prime career Julio Jones, and he's been a very, very good wide receiver. That's like, not taking anything away from him. So,
above average, but,
well, I would say, even top 10 wide receiver. I think he's been in that kind of category. He hasn't been the clear number one wide receiver in the league. I mean, that's the difference.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, we're just getting to the super excitement part of the offseason. The last couple months were like, we didn't want to admit it, but they drag a little bit differently. Now it's like there's actual guys doing actual things, throwing the ball, catching it, defending it. Yeah, it's not what we want like August will be, but it's still really cool. And we are now officially less than a week away from an actual football game that will be on TV that you can discuss. And for things like that, that's where you want to head to Sports Idiot Nation, because we kind of talk through everything throughout the league, and not only football, but just funny stories, pop culture. Happy Gilmore 2. Will you be watching that this weekend? Speaking of pop culture, Johnny.
No, I'm gonna be really, really busy this weekend. So I got pretty much Saturday and Sunday are booked solid all day long.
Okay, fair.
Just the life of a double duty guy.
So if you are going to catch Happy Gilmore 2, I started a hashtag happy. Let me know, because I want to find out what you think of it. It is now out on Netflix. Happy Gilmore 2. Be like 93 cameos. That's what I'm excited to see. Like who's going to be in it. I did watch Happy Gilmore, the first one, this week, because I
I
hadn't
mean, you
seen it
got to catch up
in
on the
years.
backstory.
You got to
Yeah,
catch up.
yeah.
Shooter. You got to catch up and know what's going on, So I did a refresher course.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you this, Adam. What cameo are you most excited about?
So I will be honest.